Hello Timeless fans, here we are for part 1 of my recap for the Timeless series finale. So there's a lot to cover, so bear with me here. Hold on one second. Just adjusting, sorry. So, definitely a lot happened in the series finale. So much that I had to do this in 2 parts because I honestly don't know how much time I have in my videos, and YouTube takes forever to load anything that's over 25 minutes. So, yeah, sorry about that. But I definitely am excited to talk about this. This is definitely something that I did not think, well, I was hoping, but I didn't know that it was going to happen because the whole series finale idea was kind of up in the air for a while. Thankfully, NBC approved it, and we got to see Timeless one last time, tying all the loose ends and seeing how the characters, like, how they go into the future, let's say. Their own future. So without further ado, I am going to begin my recap of Timeless, the episode called The Miracle of Christmas. And yes, there were definitely a lot of references to Christmas. Nothing big, like we didn't go back to the Dickens time or anything like that, but we do get to see how the whole idea of family and friendship plays into the whole Christmas theme. So that part was nice. But let me start at the beginning. I actually had to write notes, so I might have to be looking at a few of them because, like I said, a lot happened. Alright, so we open with future Lucy. Like, if you guys remember in the finale of season 2, future Lucy and Wyatt show up and the team is all confused, like, how are you guys here? So we don't really have the answer to that yet. We're seeing future Lucy writing in her journal. She's explaining everything. And by the way, this was like the best way to recap all 2 seasons. She's explaining like what's happened in her life, and we eventually, we eventually learn that they're in the year 2023, so 5 years from now, and a lot has gone wrong, is what we're getting the vibe. Lucy almost looks like she's in some kind of asylum room. It's questionable as to like what's going on, what happened to her. We don't know if this is like before, like the whole visit or whatever. But we don't have a lot of answers in this moment. But like I said, it was just a genius way of recapping the show. So we finally get back into the scene where they show up and the team questions, why are you guys here and how? And they explain that they're going to help them get Rufus back. However, it's mainly just to tell them that the answers are in the journal. So they have to look through the journal to figure out how to bring Rufus back. Future Lucy starts to have some weird issue with her head. Nobody knows what's going on. So she and Wyatt have to go back to the future. And I actually thought we were going to see them with the team throughout the whole episode, but that was it. They just came back to give a message and that was it. Not that that was bad, just I was surprised. So yeah, we didn't get to see too much of them. The main point was for them to show, like to tell the team how to figure it out, and also to show that there are actual side effects to when you go back to your own time, especially when you interact with your past self. And we will see that come into play later in this episode. In the saddest way possible, but no, I'm gonna hold it together. I have to. So basically, Lucy and Wyatt have to go through the journal. They're trying to find the answer. In the meantime, they're finding like all these different things that Lucy eventually wrote. And it mentions how she kind of ended up with Flynn. and Wyatt doesn't take this so well. And Wyatt, in the meantime, he's been dealing with a lot of regret and guilt over Rufus's death because he feels like it's all of his fault that all of this happened. He's the one who brought Jessica to the bunker. That's what led the whole Rittenhouse interfering with them, like all that. Which I won't disagree with him. Yes, that was kind of his fault. But at the same time, he didn't mean to do it, and I mean, we could have been a little suspicious of Jessica, but anyway. So, basically, everyone is still dealing with the aftermath of everything. Even Gia, she's still upset over Rufus's death. She wants them to find the answer, and Wyatt tries to help her by giving her an early Christmas gift that Rufus had planned to give her. And it was a Rubik's Cube because she likes to solve puzzles. And I thought that was so cute. And they're comforting each other, which is nice. Unfortunately, the team gets pulled aside from their mission to save Rufus because there is another fun Rittenhouse adventure where the mothership, I should say, has gone back to 1848 California during the gold rush, and they don't know what's going on or what they're planning. So Emma had Jessica go back in time, apparently to collect money and gold, which I don't know, honestly don't know what that was for. I still don't know what that was for, but whatever purpose Jessica could serve. And we don't see a lot of Rittenhouse stuff happen in 1848. The team does go back there, and they're trying to find Jessica or whoever has time traveled. Sorry, I'm having a lot of trouble with the camera. And they basically... So this is like the one problem I had with the episode. Their time travel was kind of... like, I don't want to say pointless. There was a point to it. But it's just like, they didn't deal with Rittenhouse like they usually do in the past. I mean, yeah, they dealt with the sleeper agent as usual, but that's kind of it. That's all. And we do learn why this happens. It's mainly because Emma is planning to just get rid of them. She has Jessica put up like wanted posters of them throughout the town, and then they have to try to stay low and hidden. And while doing that, they actually meet a famous historical figure who I actually learned about in this episode. I did not realize that there was a inspiration for Zorro. His name was Joaquin Murrieta, and he is a bandit, but he's out basically for revenge because there were these men that killed his brother and they violated his wife, and he's basically like a vigilante, which is what Zorro is. So yeah, this is why I love Timeless. They teach you things. It's like a history lesson. I'm really gonna miss that. There was so much history they could have covered. But yeah. So he serves a little bit of a purpose. He helps them out. He lets them borrow his horses, which they kind of stole from him, which is the meaning of his appearance in the first place. But he also helps them out in the end. We don't really see it, but he does. So in the meantime, while they're camping out, Flynn actually relates to Marietta. He tells him about his family, but he also tells him how seeking revenge just didn't work out for him, how it's better to just find a way to move on. And he hints that he has done this because he cares about Lucy, which I thought that was really nice. Here's the thing, they've been teasing Lucy and Flynn a lot, and obviously the journal is pointing it out. So we're thinking this triangle is just going to continue. However, this is where things get shocking. At one point, Flynn goes and retrieves the time machine, and he leaves the rest of the team in 1848, which I was wondering how they were going to find that out or react to that, because they're stuck there without a time machine. But here's the plan. Wyatt had realized that it was because Jessica lived, that's why Rufus had to die. So they had to take Jessica out in order to bring Rufus back. So Flynn goes back to the year 2012, which is when Jessica and Wyatt had that fight that led to her leaving the car and ending up dead the next day. We never learned who the killer was for Jessica. In this episode, we learn this whole time. And the reason why nobody knew who killed her is because it technically hadn't happened yet. So Flynn goes back to that time. He takes out the agent from Rittenhouse that is technically protecting Jessica, or meeting with her, whatever it was. And when Jessica arrives after the fight with Wyatt, she and Flynn fight, and Flynn manages to get the upper hand. He takes her out. She's dead. That, honestly, was faster than I thought it was going to be. And I'm sure if they had had a whole season 3, it would have played out longer than it did, but they obviously had to take care of this as soon as possible because they wanted to bring Rufus back. Unfortunately, and this is where it gets sad, Flynn, in doing this, sacrificed his life. He could have returned back in the time machine. It's not 100% sure why he didn't, but what he does is he sends the time machine back to 1848. He's already experiencing the side effects of being back in his past, and I don't know if it was going to continue even if he got out of there. I'm not entirely sure about that part, but he jumps out of the time machine after he sends it back. He's stuck there, and we don't really know what happened to him until Lucy finds a note. But let me jump into this first. Before we see this, Lucy and the gang get captured by men who have found the wanted posters of them, and they are trapped in some kind of cabin or wherever. And they hear a bunch of fighting going on outside. They assume it's Flynn who's come back to rescue them. But guess who walks through the door? It is Rufus! This was honestly one of the best character comebacks I've ever seen. Just the way it was done, and obviously the actor who plays Rufus has great timing, comedic and otherwise. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, but he played Rufus so well. And just to see him come back on the screen, it was like a dream come true. A wish granted. I mean, that was just brilliant how they did that. And they brought him back fairly quick in the show, which I thought was really good. Like, first 30 minutes of the 2 hours. So that was really well done. So I'm glad they figured out a way to bring him back that pretty much made sense. And it took care of one of the villains at the same time. And sadly redeemed another character who... Now here's where we'll get the... Yeah, can't talk. Here's where we'll get to this. Lucy looks in the journal and she finds a note from Flynn. And he explains that if she's reading the note, then that means he didn't make it back. And we see what he does with the time machine, and he stays behind. he explains to Lucy that if anybody's expendable, then he is, and he apologizes for all the hurt that he caused her, and it's just such a sad note. The whole scene is so sad because I have said this is a character that I did not think I would end up liking. He turned out to be one of my favorite characters. Like, his arc in just 2 seasons and a 2-hour finale. Just so brilliantly done. And so yeah, we see him staying in the past. He goes back to his old home and he sees him living with his family, having dinner with them, and it's kind of like the way he would have wanted to go. Sorry. It's late, I'm tired. He wanted to relive that moment in his life, and that was the way he wanted to go out. And later, when the team gets back to the future, Agent Christopher and Mason show them the file that a John Doe was found, unfortunately, at that time. And we see a picture of Flynn in the coroner's office, and it's so sad. Just the whole idea, like, what he did for them, how his life turned out, it's just one of the most tragic characters when you think about it, but at the same time, his efforts and his actions did not go unappreciated. Even Wyatt toasts to him with the rest of the team, and they see him as a hero, which, that was a great end to his character. Oh man, I'm gonna start crying. I wanted to cry when I was watching that scene. But yeah, I thought that was really well done. And we have Rufus back. It's just, that was a beautifully well done part of the episode. Like I said, it took out 3 birds in just one concept, one plot right there. So yeah, I thought that was good. But yes, Garcia Flynn will be missed. I mean, all the characters will be missed, but death-wise, Garcia Flynn will be missed. Alright, so yeah, that was basically the first half. The second half is a little longer because they didn't quite do it as 2 separate episodes. It was technically what they called like a movie. But I am already at 18 minutes here, so I'm going to continue the rest of the episode in another video. And we're going to talk about all the fun that the gang has on Christmas Eve. It's so magical. But we definitely get a good ending to the series, at least in my opinion. Like I said, the time travel part, like where they end up, doesn't do too much for the story, but I mean it does do a little more for each character as far as, like, you could say there's some character development, especially in the second part there is. So, without further ado, I am going to leave part 1 and jump into part 2. Join me, won't you?